I'm Dave Fiore, the founder and CEO of Fiore Communications, and this is a special update episode of How I Got Here. At the end of each episode, I ask every guest the same question. Where do you think here will be for you in 3 to 5 years? Well, it's been a little over 5 years, so I thought it would be a perfect time to check in and see how things are going. Today, I am pleased to have How I Got Here guest number 19, Skip Foster. Hi, Skip.
19, right? Great to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming in. And it's hard to believe it's been over 5 years since we recorded the first episode, or the original episode. All right, so I'm going to play back your answer from 2020 and to where you thought you might be today, and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Well, I've started a consulting company. I think I can help people with crisis communication. I think I can help people with marketing strategy. I'm interested in doing that. I think this future of nonprofit news is interesting. I want to learn more about it. I think that if for-profit journalism continues to struggle, that's something that I also want to look at. I'm interested in public discourse, so I've always been drawn to the village square. And then I have some opinions that, for this market that I think are important, that I'm starting to talk about and want to talk about more.
All right, so what are your first thoughts in hearing where you thought you'd be now?
Well, my first thought was that I was full of terror at what I might have said then. That was an interesting time for me. My newspaper runway ran out really before I wanted it to. It was just part of what happens when a business gets disrupted. I'm sure there was a CEO of a telegraph company somewhere that, was in his 50s when that business was disrupted. So that was a time of uncertainty. Having said that, I think, I did a decent job of forecasting, where I would go. It took me a while to kind of figure out that Hammerhead, my PR firm, is something that I wanted to build. And then a part of what Hammerhead does is Red Tape Florida, which has been a place for me to share some of those opinions, but also base them in a lot of fact and hopefully do some truth-telling in our community. So not bad.
Yeah.
I've certainly had a couple thousand worse forecasts. So, that was good to hear.
Yeah. So let's talk about Red Tape Florida a little bit. That is kind of it's different for this community anyway to have a separate voice that's not seemingly attached to anything.
Right.
So where did that idea come from, and how did you develop that concept?
The idea came from some of my very first meetings as the publisher of the paper, when there was a big long list of people to meet. I'm sure you were on that list. And when I would meet with the what I'll just call the building community, developers, contractors, I would hear these just kind of, frankly, crazy stories, horror stories of what they encountered when it came to permitting and government regulation. And when I asked them, I said, hey, the paper, let's write that story. And they kind of looked at me like, you would actually write that story? Because it's not typically the kind of things that newspapers would necessarily do. And then they said, well, we just really worry about retribution, right? I've got 10 projects going. If I talk about how I'm really getting screwed on one, then they can slow down the other 9, and they do. Well, that made me even more determined, right? That's like retribution. That's like, punishing whistleblowers. And so red tape is a lane that was empty. There's a lot of lanes with anti-growth opinions and content. There are barely any making the case for growth, and it's a great case and one that should be made. And part of the the foot soldiers in the anti-growth movement often are bureaucrats who slow down and obfuscate and move the goalpost and do all of these kind of things. And so that's kind of what red tape is designed to do. It's not journalism. It has characteristics of journalism.
Yeah,
I base things on fact and documents, but I also have opinions. It is sponsored by people who want to advance the mission, right? So I'm not trying to turn it into some sort of newspaper. It is a content advocacy outlet that is presenting a point of view, hopefully based in fact and data and real life experience.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is like journalism, except that you typically don't talk to the other side.
Right.
Right. But it's researched, factual.
Yes.
It's not an op-ed.
Correct.
But it's not journalism.
Correct.
So is that a lane? I don't really know what you would even call that lane.
It's advocacy.
Right.
And, what I don't like is when people pretend to be doing journalism when they're not. So you're not going to see the word journalism appear on my site. If you do, call me up so I can strike it, right?
Yeah.
No, I look, especially in a lane where there are no cars, like this one, there's plenty of people articulating the other side. They're just not doing it on my site because, I'm trying to be a lone voice that is trying to say things like, hey, you can't oppose a housing development and then go put on the affordable housing colored T-shirt, that everybody wears when they want to come testify and complain about affordable housing. That's just like saying, I don't want lawns to grow too much and I'm banning lawnmowers. It's just not how it works, right?
Okay. So what's been the biggest surprise for you in this process and just over the last 5 years in general? Is anything really, caught you off guard or surprised you over this time?
Well, I think a couple things. Tallahassee is a place where truth-telling isn't necessarily a high priority. And I'm not talking about lying. I'm just talking about calling things like they are, right? We are not growing. We are not growing population, extremely slow, way behind the state average population growth, and our job growth is anemic. And for some reason, that kind of truth-telling really bothers people, right? They just don't want to hear it. We're a place where the pom-poms are everywhere, like in an orange grove after a squall line, right? And people want to pick them up. I've never seen a place give more awards and tout more rankings and all of these kind of things. And when you try to tell the truth, there's people that don't like it. On the other hand, I can't tell you how many times I'm in a restaurant and somebody comes up and says, keep up the good work, right? And not just people that are contractors, but regular folks. So that's a big part of this market that's absolutely fascinating. We're going to keep telling the truth, and there's really nothing anybody can do about it.
What have you learned most about yourself over this time period? Well,
I've learned that I was the 10th and, as it turned out, final publisher of the Democrat. I supervised over 100 people and a giant budget. I don't have to build something and to have a successful career.
You've done that.
I like doing what I want to do. And so, I've got people I work with. I can partner with a lot of people at a moment's notice. But being able to set my own agenda has been something that I've really had to, embrace, right? And now that I'm doing that, I'm enjoying it. I also have to use some different muscles than I had to use before. There's no delegation when you're, a one or two or even 3-person operation. Everybody's kind of doing what they need to do. But so it's been interesting and fun, and I've learned that I can have a very different career that is also very rewarding.
That's great. Yeah, that the rhythm of the daily deadline, it's a lot different now, right? Yeah.
365 miracles a year.
That's awesome. All right. So do you want to take a guess at where you might be 5 years from now?
Oh, well, sure. I mean, that's the bit, right?
Right, yeah.
I think that I will probably be doing what I'm doing now. I'll be doing it a lot better. I will have scaled it to a place that I want to be, which could be I look a lot like I look right now. I'm just able to be choosier with what I do, and I hope red tape has grown. I think I'm sensing that people are starting to get it and understand what I'm doing, and that people who benefit from excessive bureaucracy being addressed are going to start to want to use me for that. And so I'm pretty optimistic about that. Maybe there'll be Red Tape Georgia someday or Red Tape America. So that's something I'm interested in growing and scaling. But I don't need to just grow a business, and hire a bunch of people just to say that I did it, right? I want to do what I want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you enjoy this.
Very much.
Right.
The lane is empty because there aren't many people that are passionate about the subject and have the ability to do something about it, right? That's a skill set that doesn't exist.
Passion plus the ability to execute it or implement it.
Right. So that's what makes it kind of cool.
All right, Skip, thank you for giving us an update and sharing your ongoing journey with us. To our listeners, if you have not already, I encourage you to listen to Skip's original episode. It will put some context to this conversation and add some additional insight into his journey. You can listen right here or at tallypodcast.com. Thanks for supporting this podcast and connecting with your community. We'll see you next time.